Hey everybody, it's Rizwan, a React developer with 5 years of experience, and today I want to share with you how I do text inputs at increaser.org. Let's check it out. So here we have a text input for an email address. So if we try to put a wrong email, so John a mail, and then we try to submit, it will highlight the error. Then we have another example with this form. It shares the same styles between text input and text area. Every input at increaser wrapped with this component, it receives a label that is React node. So it could be either a text or it could be a custom component. Then we have error as a string and of course children. All the components that I used in this videos are already covered in the previous tutorials, so you can check them out. At the top we have a vertical stack that serves as a container, and it is rendered as a label so that if we click inside of it, we'll get focused on the input. Then we have a label, and it's wrapped with text components so that by default they share the same styles. But if we want to, we can pass another text here and rewrite some styles. But by default we have a supporting color, and if there is an error, we use other color. Then we give some space, children, there is input of course, and then at the bottom we have error text that wraps an existing text component but sets len height to 1 and set min height so that we always have the space and the form doesn't jump when we show an error. Usually text inputs are used inside of some kind of a form. And in order to have consistent spacing, I use this form component that receives on submit, content, and actions. Here we wrap content with stack that has consistent gap. So if we assume that every input is wrapped with this component and then used inside of this form, we know for sure that all the fields will have consistent gap. Now let's check the component itself. First, we want to look at common input styles that shared between text input and text area. So here we receive height and is valid. So we use getCSSUnit helper to convert height to proper CSS unit. If it's number, we add pixels, or otherwise we return the value. And then we use getHeightAdjusted border radius, so that it basically divides height by 6. Then we set background to transparent. We add outline, but it is transparent. Since outline is kind of outside of the box, we want to add margin so it doesn't look weird when it becomes not transparent. Of course, padding, then colors, I talked about them in previous videos, font size, default transition, and color for placeholder. Then we have customization that is based on validity of the form. Let's once again check the states of input. So it could be inactive, in that case we only show border. Then if we do hover, then you can see that border becomes larger, but it happens because we make outline not transparent, and then when we focus, we make both outline and border the same color. If it's error, color would be red for both border and outline. So here we have logic that does this checking and based on validity of form assigns colors and hover and focus active states. Then we have text input container that basically reuse existing colors, and then we have the same for text area, but it sets a border radius to fixed value and sets resize to none. Then we have shared text input props that consist of props of a wrapper with remove children, and also on value change and height parameter. And then the only difference between text input props and text area input props that here we use input HTML attributes and here we use text area HTML attributes. If we look at text input, it wraps our text input container with input wrapper, and then the path is valid based on the error. We also have ref because in some situation we want to access this input component. Height and on change we call on change from props, but we also add this on value change so that in some situation it would be easier to pass on value change than accessing target in the outside components that uses this input. And the same for text area input. That's it. I hope you found some interesting bits. I would cover forms and how I use them in next video. So stay productive.